Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Rasulin Kareem wa ba'd. So, are there any other very specific questions with regard to gender? This is always like a hot topic. You know, they say if you're ever lecturing or lecturing to or teaching Muslims and you find people uninterested in what you're saying, start talking about jinn or marriage, and everybody just locks in. You can be giving tafsir of surah yani hadid. If you say about these jinn, people go. You can be talking about anything. Look, marriage. So is there any other question? Yes. Mahram. Yeah, this is an issue, and I think it's a really interesting issue because on the one hand, many scholars say that the purpose, because we're talking about maqasid, but you also have ilal, al-hukm ma'illatihi wujudan wa adaman. That the ruling is with its rationale, meaning its reason. If the reason is present, the ruling is present. If the reason is absent, the ruling is absent. This is a qa'idah. This is a qa'idah. These are things that none of the scholars disagree about. You know what I'm saying? So some people say that this is all about security. And I'm of the opinion that this is all about security. If you look at all of the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ in regard to women traveling, it's about security. And many contemporary scholars say that the police, security at airports, etc., يَقُومُونَ مَقَامَ الْمَحْرَمِ, that they are in the place of a woman having a guardian. Because, you know, she can always, if something happens, she can go to security or go to the local, police force and file a complaint or otherwise seek protection. And so they say, in the modern context, it is okay for a woman to travel because the purpose is security. It's for a woman to be secure. On the other hand, some people, and this is just a difference in how we understand fact, reality, they point out that, look, traveling is still very dangerous. It's not, it's not like we should see this as men, as lifting that sense of responsibility that we feel towards our women. And I mean, this is going to get a little controversial, but I think that when people use the word patriarchy now, like it's a sin, you know what I mean? Patriarchy, oh, yeah, patriarchy, oh, But I think that if you, women will see, just take a very traditional kind of patriarchal, both pronunciations are correct, model. Depending on a woman's experience with that kind of model, she will either see it as belittling, demeaning, invasive, and unnecessary, or she will recognize that this is something that is about my comfort, my security, and caring for me. So if I say to my wife, I don't want you to go alone because I would rather accompany you, it's not because I don't think you, it's not because I'm like, it's the hukm is, no, it's like I still feel a sense of responsibility towards you in that way. So sometimes when men, husbands in particular, invoke this ruling, it's not because they think, women can't do it or women, it's because, no, they still feel this sense of responsibility, and I don't think that should be criminalized. I remember when I was trying to get married, I had like an intense wali. The wali was like intense. My late wife's stepfather, he was like a hardcore dude. And he said to me, okay, you want to get married, huh? And I'm like, Yeah? He's like, okay, I have a scenario for you. It's after Maghrib. I'm like, okay. It means after sunset. You're at work. Your wife wants to go down the street and buy some ice cream. She's at home. Would you let her go by herself? And I'm like, well, and the thing about it, the whole time I'm thinking, look, I just want to say the right thing because I want to marry this woman. I don't care, you know. I don't care what the answer. I don't care what the right answer is. I just want to say the right thing, you know. And I'm thinking, well, if I say no, I might seem controlling. Look. I don't care that you're a responsible attorney. As far as I'm concerned, you're a woman. You can't even cross the street without holding my hand. Come on. You know, I don't want to seem like that. At the same time, I don't want to seem as though I'm a man with no regard for chivalry. That I have no, look, just, I don't care about you. You can do, look, go ahead. I don't care. I don't care what happens to you. So I'm like, can I just go and get it for her? No, that wasn't one of the options. Either you'll let her go or you won't let her go. I said, I'm like, I said, it depends on the neighborhood. Is the neighborhood safe? It's your neighborhood that you live in right now. I said, well, my neighborhood is safe. I have a good relationship with the shopkeeper. Yeah, it's no problem if she goes down there, gets some ice cream, go to get something to eat, and comes back. But I had to answer like that because I wanted him to know, look, I do intend to take care of your daughter. It's not just like, yeah, she wants to travel distances, I don't care. Who cares? And whatever happens to her, happens. So, me personally, this ruling, yes, I think it's okay for women to travel for work, for education, for religious purposes even, to make Hajj and things like that in the modern context in which you have police, you have security, and we can ensure that the way is safe. But I don't want men to just get rid of that feeling. I don't want men to just hear, it's okay for women to go, who cares, man? It's fatuwa. I don't want men to lose that chivalry. Because I personally think that position is not inherently oppressive. I think it's chivalrous. Like, no, if my wife is going to go, I will accompany her. Because I want to know that she is safe. That's important to me. I know some brothers, man, once the Sheikh, and I remember Sheikh Qaradawi, he wrote a book saying, you know, as long as it's secure, you have police, you have security. I know some brothers, they heard that and they just went all out. Look, she can go anywhere, I don't care. You heard what the Sheikh said. I'm like, I don't know if that's the attitude. I don't know if that's the attitude.
The answer Ibrahim.
So that my heart is at ease. So, yes, it's okay, I think, in this context, for women to travel for purposes of, work, visiting family, any legitimate purpose. Like it's okay for men to travel for any legitimate purpose. But men, let's maintain some chivalry, inshallah. Let's maintain some sense of responsibility towards our women. Where possible. Obviously, two people in a household work, they may not be able to go everywhere with each other, but he should feel, it should be at least, call me if anything happens. If you need anything, call me. I'm here. Not just, you heard what the Sheikh said, you're on your own. Go ahead. I don't care what happens to you. It's like, no, that's not the attitude. But there was another question. Yes?
Okay, so there's a situation. I learned about it. There's a Muslim country where they don't allow Muslims to marry non-Muslims, period, men and women.
Okay.
And so my question is, can someone appeal to the maqasid to make a halal haram?
Yeah, this is something that, this is just for me, this is just difficult. Because the marriage crisis that we're dealing with as a Muslim community is so acute right now, especially for our sisters. So when a sister is divorced, and in some cultures, divorce is like a death sentence. It's like once you're divorced, that's it. You might not ever get married again. Or a sister is, 37, 38, 39, maybe even her early 40s. she hasn't been married and she doesn't have a lot of potential suitors, then she meets a man who is not Muslim, but respects her religion, is like, I'm cool with the fact that you're Muslim. Is there a possibility of our having a relationship? She goes and the people of knowledge tell her, no way, it's haram, forget about it. That hurts me. Even though I don't personally see grounds for saying anything different. But saying that just seems inadequate to me. It's like, it hurts me. That's what I'm saying. It's
a way of saying it's no.
But I mean, for me, I'm not comfortable saying yes. That's, I guess, what I'm saying. In the case of sisters marrying non-Muslim men, I'm not comfortable saying yes. But I cannot say no. Like, it's like she just wants some companionship. It just seems so insensitive to just summarily, no, haram. So it's just like, this is one of those things I'm still praying about, I'm still talking to my teachers about, I'm still gathering, you know, right now when people ask, I say no. But it's just, yes.
All her life she's doing, I cannot say that. Surah Mutmainna, when you married a non-Muslim woman, married a non-Muslim sister.
No, that. No, this. No, I mean, for me, I'm really not looking at the primary sources so much as I'm looking at just across almost all scholars, all madhahibs, all manahij. A Muslim woman marrying anything besides a Muslim man is impermissible. That's just kind of like where it stands on that issue. There is some difference of opinion, however, about a Muslim woman who she's married to, she's not Muslim, she's married to a non-Muslim man, and then she converts. Then she converts to Islam. We see this often. So, and at this point, they're like 60, 45, 50, 55, 60 years old. She's like, we've been together since we were 20. He hasn't converted. I have chosen to convert. We do not say, look, if you want to be Muslim, you have to leave your husband. See, a lot of this stuff, it isn't even really about maqasid. It's just about hikmah. I'll tell you a story about wisdom. Ibn Taymiyyah, who, for all of the people who love Ibn Taymiyyah, and for all of the people who don't love Ibn Taymiyyah, nobody ever alleges that he played around with deen or with the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. Whether you love him or you dislike him, everybody knows he was a person with integrity. He did what he believed. And if you look at the Fatawi, you look at the Fatawi of Ibn Taymiyyah, there was a young man in Syria who wanted to become Muslim, but he did not want to be disinherited. His father was wealthy. The Muslim does not inherit from the non-Muslim. And vice versa, the non-Muslim doesn't inherit from the Muslim. No, what else? The Muslim doesn't inherit from the non-Muslim. And so this young man said to Ibn Taymiyyah, look, I'm convinced about the message of Islam, but my old man is rich, filthy, and I don't want to be disinherited. Ibn Taymiyyah said, look, become Muslim, and then if your father passes away, take the money. That was his fatwa. You look at the fatwa, become Muslim, if your father passes, take the money. Because there is no law that Allah Ta'ala has legislated that should prevent you from becoming Muslim. Look, become Muslim and we'll deal with that later. You know, so my point in mentioning that is, if someone converts, if someone is saying, look, I want to convert, but I don't want to leave my husband, we say, look, convert to Islam. Convert to Islam. And we'll deal with that later. The case of someone who is Muslim considering marrying a non-Muslim, I've seen this on so many occasions with so many sisters, and she's like, look, I'm 39. Companionship for me is daruri. This is why I'm so conflicted about it. Somebody, at least it's something that is a necessity. You know, someone choosing to live on their own is different than someone who, I want a family, I want companionship, I want physical closeness with someone. But no Muslim, I haven't found that yet. But I do have a non-Muslim who says that he respects my religion, he respects. Now, this is somebody that is very controversial. I did not accept this opinion, but I'm going to tell you the opinion. Khalid Abu al-Fadl, who I met with him in Cairo. He's an Egyptian scholar. He's a professor of law at UCLA. And the thing about it, I made such a fool of myself because I had no adab. That's the first thing I said is, Assalamu alaikum, Professor Abu al-Fadl. Are you the one who says that Muslim women can marry non-Muslim men? And he was like, whoa, wait a minute, wait a minute, hold on, and he said, look, what I said was that the position of the fuqaha on that issue, that, when, like, the underlying reasoning of why Muslim men can marry non-Muslim women is that the assumption is that men are not compelled by the women that they marry, but women are compelled by the men that they marry. So the underlying assumption of the hukm is that a woman will not be able, hifd ad-deen, she will not be able to maintain her religion while she's married to a man that isn't Muslim, because he might be able to force her to, don't be Muslim, don't pray. And what Professor Abu al-Fadl said to me was that in this context, he doesn't necessarily think that that's true. He doesn't necessarily think that every woman that marries a non-Muslim man will be compelled to not be Muslim. That's all he said. He said, I'm just saying the underlying basis of the ruling might not be true. He said, so if we're going to say that it is something that is disliked or makruh for men to marry non-Muslim women, we have to just also say that it's a makruh but not haram for women to marry non-Muslim men. I wasn't convinced by that. The text just seemed to be too strong in terms of the language is so sarih, is what we use in terms of studying law. It's very sarih that it's not permissible. But I understood his argument. Yes.
On that same topic, I think there is another underlying reason a lot of fuqaha says that, I'm coming back to the notion that Muslim women or their sister cannot marry non-Muslim, is that the progeny normally takes up the religion of the father.
The father.
So in this situation, if a Christian or Jew or non-Muslim, and the sister is a Muslimah, in that case, the progeny is going to take up the religion of the father.
Of the father.
That's another also.
That's another underlying basis, that she might be compelled to be, and her children will certainly take after the religion of their father. This is the assumption.
Right, again, these are. But I would like to also clarify or understand that in most of the rulings, right, there are form and content. Form and content. For instance, in this situation, content is the spirit. The form is how we apply it. In this scenario, in the situation that you don't feel comfortable with that notion, I mean, this personal reasoning is that a brother or Muslim brother could marry a non-Muslim, but not vice versa. You don't feel comfortable, and the underlying reasoning is that the content rather than the form. But aren't both form and content should be maintained?
I mean, form and content should both be maintained. I'm just saying that for me, it's very difficult. It's just, and it's not from it's because I'm a student of Sharia, just as a human being.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying. Just the insaniya of a sister saying, look, I'm single, I'm 42. I want to be in a relationship. I'm probably already past the age of childbearing. And I've been waiting for the Muslim Prince Charming to knock on my door, and it hasn't happened. I meet a nice guy who says he respects my religion, I can be Muslim, and you fiqh people are still telling me it's haram. And even though I will say, I just don't see, I don't feel comfortable telling you anything besides that. It's very difficult for me to say that, just as a human being. That's what I'm saying, yes.
See, forgive me if this is a little too extreme, or...
Speak up.
Forgive me if this is a little too extreme example, but couldn't someone use that same example for homosexuality then? Say, well, I can't find a sister who will marry me, or I can't find a brother or who will marry me. But I found this really nice guy, or I found this really nice sister who accepts me for who I am and is okay with me being Muslim. But then, I mean, they could use, not saying that you are, but saying that someone could use, well, they want companionship. That's why they're...
Yeah, no, I think, yeah, and what Adam is saying is that, look, the same argument can be made for anything that people want to do that, you know, we believe is haram. He used the example of a homosexual relationship. My point is not, and I would also say that I don't see any basis. That, I mean, be sure that I'm saying that, but I'm saying as a human, I can just feel like, even, I mean, to be honest with you, and I hope this doesn't offend anybody, even someone that feels like, look, I have a same-sex attraction, and I've talked to people like that, look, this is something that look, this is who I am. It's difficult for me to say, look, I don't believe that's God-pleasing. I mean, but I wouldn't have integrity if I didn't tell you that. And for me, this is what deen is about, is doing what Allah Ta'ala wants of us even when it's hard. You know, and so you know, I mean, so you know what I'm saying? But as a human being, it's not like we delight in people saying, look, I want companionship. No, you can't have it. You know, like I'm happy. You know, like I'm happy. Haram.
Go back to say like the same. I feel for you that you're having this that you're having this problem. It doesn't mean that I'm gonna let you go ahead and do it because.
Yeah, I mean to feel that somebody is mutawarrit, yani they're troubled by this. It's just some insaniyah. Yes.
Reality. So these are some of the challenges, especially when coming to marriage. These people could be their best of friends, but if you ask them for their daughters or their sons, if you are not the same in terms of their culture, it's very challenging.
It's very challenging.
And that's the reality. That's just facts, what I'm talking.
Oh, you're talking nothing but facts. And I think that first off, I think I'll speak to that and then we'll move to the next portion. It is not necessarily wrong for people to desire cultural continuity. That's not, I don't want to make that a haram thing. I think sometimes we go to, you know, when I think about, and this is just full disclosure, when I have a daughter, she's 7, and I think about her bringing home someone or saying, Dad, I want to get married. When I think about it, I think about him as African American. Probably because I'm African American. I mean, that's just how I think about it. You know, I mean, just, you know, I think, you know, that's how I think about it. And that in and of itself is not bad. But if he were Egyptian, well, I'm Egyptian too. If he were Egyptian, or if he were Pakistani, or if he were Indian, or if he were Chinese, or if he were white, I hope that I would have enough sense. This doesn't even come back to maqasid. I hope I would have enough sense to say, number one, in this context, my daughters still approach me about marriage. A lot of these parents, I'm like, what world are you living in? You have everything in the world to be thankful that the fact that your daughter is coming to you about marriage. There's 100 other things she could be doing besides coming to you about marriage. Number two, to a Muslim. A Muslim. You don't know how many people come to me and say, look, my daughter is in a relationship with a non-Muslim. My son is in a relationship with a non-Muslim. your daughter is coming to you about marriage, or your son is coming to you about marriage, and it's marriage with a Muslim, and you still have grounds to find fault because you have some emotional attachment to this idea of the continuity of your like one of my friends, he married a sister that was Brazilian. He was Desi, and his mother was like, she can't even make khimo. She can't even make biryani, And I realized that for his mom, this was important. Like, I want to be able to culturally connect with my daughter-in-law. But she has to understand that, look, his being married, preserving his chastity, it's muqaddam. It takes precedence over that. Like, hey, we would have loved for my son-in-law to be African-American, and he and I could talk about the golden age of hip-hop and the good old days, and we can talk about, Islam and the African-American experience and coming up through the Nation of Islam and Imam Muhammad's kind of shift in 75. But if that doesn't happen, it didn't happen. And I'll have to just develop a different kind of relationship with my son-in-law if he's Algerian. And I might even still talk to him about those things. But if it didn't happen, and that's what I want, that's what I really think parents should be. Okay, we want this to happen. I want it to happen too. But if it doesn't happen, it didn't happen. Yes?
Jewish people are very pragmatic. Very pragmatic, and they're maybe 2 generations ahead of us as far as, what was that sociological term you used that we are now?
First effective settlement.
So I guess the Jews are on their, 3rd or 4th effective settlement?
Mm-hmm.
And obviously they have a big problem with intermarriage. And what they're doing is very, very sensible. Because of course, it has been for billions of years that Jewish people, like Muslims, don't want to marry out. They're presented with a situation they can't avoid. Instead of closing their eyes, what they're doing is bringing the non-Jewish partner into the synagogue. Making it part of the activities, and sooner or later, things turn out wrong.
Yeah, no, and you have a lot of, and to me, but I feel sometimes guilt at that. You have a lot of sisters that they think, the cute guy at work, just trying to invite him to the mosque, and which is a strategy that is I think should be commended, at least because they want to marry and also preserve something of their Islam. But we just got to figure out a way of dealing with this marriage crisis. I mean, you think it's bad, but trust me, it's worse. It's worse than you think. And the way that this affects, what really disturbs me is the way that this can even affect someone's iman. People start questioning God, Islam, why am I doing all of this, especially hijab. That's the first thing that's like, one person told me, it's like, look, they wear the hijab, they try to be a good Muslim, and even the imams, even the religious guys, they want, sisters that don't wear hijab, they go to clubs, and, it's like, why would I do all of this? And I think, we have to be sensitive to that. Personally, I think we have to be sensitive to that. But maybe there was one more question I saw. That's it? Bismillah. So we want to move into, because I want to leave like maybe 30 minutes for just just questions, conversation, just about the entire session. But we want to move into now this issue of the workplace, where we work. And the first thing, and I know that I'm in Virginia, so we have to talk about, is it halal to work for government agencies? Which everybody's like,
My husband is allowed.
what's that?
Volunteer, librarian here, my husband is not allowed to work under agency.
And some people say no, because you are lending support to regimes that kill Muslims, etc., etc., etc. I don't agree with that. Everybody's comfort level is different, but this is also a form of umum al-balwa. If there is, because one could say the same thing about income tax, sales tax. many people don't know this, but the fatwa of Osama bin Laden, I did not know he was qualified to give fatwa, but apparently he was that American non-combatants can be killed because they're all taxpayers. That is a lot of people don't know that like terrorism has some legal scaffolding that goes with it. It's not just like we're angry, let's kill people. No, the argument was, look, they're all taxpayers, so they're all technically contributing in some way to American military involvement. All of them contribute, and that's why they said American citizens can be killed indiscriminately, because all of them have a share, all of them have a stake. Now, this is this is probably the most glaring example of someone who has no understanding of the Sharia. Because this is clearly umum al-balwa, meaning yes, sales tax, compulsory. Income tax, compulsory. Some people think they have a choice, but you can end up like Wesley Snipes or Lauryn Hill. If you think you have a choice to pay taxes or not pay taxes, the IRS will show you very quickly you don't have a choice. If you think you have a choice, they will show you you don't have a choice. And with the sales tax, unless you're in like Texas or something like, what state is it they don't have any sales? They have sales tax in Virginia? Delaware. I knew I was clear. If you're in, most places, you have to pay sales tax. So, working for a government agency is no more involved in terms of contributing to things you might find morally repugnant about American government, military, etc., than paying sales tax or paying income tax. It's just one of those things that is so prevalent, it would be almost impossible to avoid. That said, each person does have a comfort level. Now, me personally, I'm not going to be the one who helps Blackwater like put their bags together and get in, like as they're being deployed into Iraq. I just wouldn't do that. Not because I think it's haram. Not because I think it's haram, but because ethically, I'm not comfortable with that. And we have to remember, there is a huge difference between fatwa and taqwa. There's a huge difference between fatwa and taqwa. If someone, asks me, look, I'm thinking about working for Halliburton. Is it haram for me to work for Halliburton? I might say, no, I don't think it's haram for you to work for Halliburton, but I don't think you should do it. Especially if you can find a different job. I'm not saying it's haram, but I'm not comfortable with that. So let's kind of dislodge it from a conversation about maqasid. I'm not comfortable, there are a number of jobs that, look, talking about fatwa and taqwa, I can tell you hiyal, I can tell you tricks that are halal, but I'm not comfortable with them. I'll give you an example, zakat. Everyone knows that you have to keep your zakat for at least a year, lunar months, for the hawl. Every time you have zakat, you have to have a hawl, meaning 12 lunar months. The money has to be in your possession and it has to be in your savings. Many people don't understand the ahkam of zakat. This isn't money that you spend from regularly or that money that you're just saving. 12 months, you have to pay zakat on it. So let's say I have $300,000. We're going to dream, let's dream big. I don't have $300,000. But I keep it for 10 months, give it to Adam. He keeps it for 10 months, gives it back to me. I keep back to Livia, you know what I mean? He keeps it for 10 months, gives it back to me. I keep it for 10 months, give it back to him. The hawl of 12 lunar months has never passed in that the money is in either of our possession. No zakat will ever be paid on it. And you can do that with any amount of money. And that is technically halal. But do you think someone with taqwa would do that? That's the difference between fatwa and taqwa. That's halal. If I have $2 million, look, give it to my brother. And you have many of, I'm not picking on the people in the Khalij, but a lot of Khalijis, they do that. I got 2 million, I keep it for a little bit, give it to my cousin, he keeps it, he gives it back to me, I keep it, and zakat is never paid on the money. And that is legal. That's legal. But it is not something that a person with taqwa would do. So when we talk about these qawa'id, working for government agencies, yeah, sure, I don't think it's haram. But you should have an inner compass. You should have an inner ethical sense that, to help develop the bombs that they drop on the heads of human beings, not just Muslims. Sometimes we really do our discourse a disservice by just talking about, indiscriminate violence that's carried out against Muslims. No, we're against indiscriminate violence that's carried out against human beings. It's not, I don't care if they're Muslim or not. I don't want to support that. But I'm not saying it's haram because the place you're in, but if you can seek another job, why not? Why not? And most of us, we're not limited in that regard. Yes?
Well, why wouldn't you, so if you're going based on the maqasid al-sharia, the person that is actually pushing the button to drop the button, because they have a job where you have a drone. You got a person who's controlling the drone, he's pushing the button even though he has commands from upper management, right? Why can we not say it's haram to do that job because you're first destroying life. That's it.
And you can certainly say that. Now, and that's why every job is different. But if somebody is working at the Social Security office,
I work for FEMA, right? FEMA is
the federal emergency.
Disaster, we go out.
Yeah, I mean now.
But there's a difference, right, between the person building a bomb, dropping a bomb, doing all of these things, where there's a difference.
But a lot of us, I mean, full disclosure, I just took a trip to Chad. I spent 10 days in Chad. We were doing programs to encourage peaceful coexistence between Muslims and Christians. Chad is very tough. Chad. I've lived in Yemen. I've lived in Egypt, but Chad, I hadn't seen anything like Chad. Yeah, the Bidawi, everything just Now, the money for that program, the money for that initiative, it came from the Department of Defense. So, I had to, and I prayed istikhara about it. I mean, it was a great opportunity to connect with the Muslims there. And of course, I mean, talking about peace and, ta'ayush silmi, peaceful coexistence and conviviality. It's something I support, it's something I believe in. But I was conflicted about the fact that I knew that my check, because I received a stipend for every day that I spent there, was going to come from the Department of Defense, aka the United States war chest. Meaning the same money for the building of bombs and destruction of, peoples all over the world, I was going to be getting paid from the same coffers. What do I think about that? How do I feel about that? And after, a lot of prayer, reflection, conversation with people that I respect, I decided to participate. Because my direct involvement wasn't that. My direct involvement wasn't, that. Even though I was being paid from that source. Someone else might make a different decision. Someone else might say, I'm not going anywhere sponsored by the U.S. State Department. And I respect that too. Yes?
To go off of his thing, let me kind of change it up. All right, say I'm not directly sitting there pushing the button, whatever. But I'm the IT guy at some base. Without me working as the IT guy, making sure everything is secure, makes their job a lot easier. I mean, that's...
And this is why me personally, I would say that is a type of just umum al-balwa. I mean, like I'm not directly involved, but I pay taxes.
Yeah, but I'm saying you may not be directly. You're probably not in that trailer pushing the button to drop that bomb.
You're not. I mean, you're not in the same way.
Without you, I mean.
Without me, if we didn't live here and we didn't pay taxes, the vast majority of the money being spent on defense, being spent on the military spending of the United States of America is more than all other countries in the world combined. That should just give you some perspective.
They're using the money that they make, they're using for, even Islam. We're trying to build reconciliation between people, peace. So it's, from a logical point of view, it's easy to say, yeah, this isn't going to be the same as a person sitting down and pushing the button to drop and kill countless people.
Yeah, and this is why, you know, I think it's important that we don't look for catch-alls. I mean, the person pushing the button, I would say haram. I would say haram. But then there's a part of me that, and this is just the student in me, well, how far do I extend that? Okay, he's pushing the button, I'm paying the money, you're paying the money as taxpayers, this person is filing the paper. I mean, when we think about just the bureaucratization of violence, I mean, there's someone that's entering the data, there's someone filing the paper, there's someone pushing the button, there's someone cleaning the area that he just pushed the button. I mean, all of us in that way are, we're all making a contribution and we're all involved somehow. So I guess what I'm saying is that it's just umum al-balwa. It's an unavoidable evil. Now what it should do, I'm coming to you in 1 sec. What it should do is because of that, everybody that lives here should feel it absolutely imperative to work for da'wah. Because who knows, maybe just our being here is something being recorded against us. Meaning, if you actually are working for the sake of deen, you might just be batting 50-50. If you're not doing anything, you're probably losing. And that's how we should see, meaning look, just because I'm an American taxpayer, I'm involved in things that might not sit well with me, morally, ethically. Just because I'm an American and this isn't hypothetical for me. Just because I'm an American taxpayer, I know that I am contributing to things that don't sit completely well with me. I'll come to her. So when I come and try to do things that I really think are beneficial for Americans and people all over the world, I'm just trying to equal out my shar. I'm just trying to just to do some khair to equal out the implicit shar of being here. I mean, we should think of it that way. But from a legal point of view, it's a umum al-ba. It's unavoidable. Yes.
Legal question. So, like in U.S. criminal law, you have a criteria of what you consider some of the accessory for crime, right?
Okay.
So, like you're so vulnerable that the person of blame attenuated, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is there any sort of similar sort of thinking in Islamic legal code about how far removed from an act you have to be where you no longer are culpable of blame?
You know what? This will actually give me occasion to give the great answer of Imam Malik radiallahu an. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. La adri. I don't know. But I know that you're very, very intelligent. I know that. I know that. I know I'm going to write that down. MashaAllah. I know I'm going to write that down. Give me one. Before I forget, I have to write that down. That is really why we do this job, to get questions like that. Wallahi, that is why we do this, to get questions like that. You know, there's a famous story that a man came all the way from Egypt to ask Imam Malik like 40 questions. All the way from Egypt. He traveled and he's like, wait, are you Malik ibn Anas? Yes, I'm Malik ibn Anas. And Imam Malik, you know, all of the ulama had different personalities, but Imam Malik was like very dignified. Very, who's familiar with the word redoubtable? Like very intimidating, like some people say, even when they sat in his halaqah, it's like, you feel like I shouldn't even ask a question. Like this is somebody always very well dressed. He used to eat meat every day. This was like an extreme luxury. There's a funny story about Imam Malik. They said that one of his students ran into the students of another sheikh, and the students of that sheikh said, Imamuna akthar min imamikum ilman, that our imam has more knowledge than your imam. And Imam Malik's student said, nah, I don't think that's true. He said, Imamuna akthar min imamikum hadithan, our imam has more hadith than your imam. He says, no, I don't think that's true. And then he said, Imamuna akthar min imamikum zuhdan, our imam has more abstinence in the world, like he's not worldly, min imamikum. And he said, Imam Malik's student said, yeah, you're probably right about that. yeah. I just love that story, man. You know what I mean? Like, knowledge, hadith, piety, but in terms of like being very abstinent in the dunya, just wearing very coarse clothes and not wearing nice perfume, like that's not him. He's the imam, but he's fresh. You know, he's clean all the time. He's fresh. You know, right? But someone traveled from a great distance to, ask, a few questions, maybe like 40 questions, and Imam Malik would just say, I don't know, and then the man appealed to his ego. Man, look, you're Malik. I've traveled, and this is what am I supposed to tell people when I go back? Because it's embarrassing. Like, I just traveled, and by the way, no planes, no cars, very simple means of conveyance. Animals probably on foot. What am I supposed to tell people? You tell people that Malik ibn Anas said, I don't know. That's what you tell them. So with that question, it's like, you got me. I don't know. I have to get on the phone. I have high-level questions like this. I still have some context at Azhar. I have to get on the phone and say, man, I was in a class and a really brilliant student that really pushed me, and she pushed me all the way off the ledge. I couldn't come up with an answer. Tell me, because I want to know myself. Yes, you had a question.
But to come at it from the other direction, we Muslims, we're entranced with the beauty of Islam and the Sharia and how wonderful it is, etc., and how closely it ties us to Allah. We are living in the United States and we think we're culturally fluid, and we're not until we have a grasp of U.S. law, as this sister does, and of American history intimately, and we don't really have that.
No, we need that, and I think culture. Culture is a lot of things, but cultural literacy should be a base level expectation.
Cultural power literacy, and that's what this sister has. About the degree of distance from the law. She obviously knows the U.S. legal system.
Are you a lawyer?
I am not.
Oh wow, it's even more impressive.
We need to know about the Civil War. We need to know why the Civil War is still alive today. What the good points of the South are, which are many. We need to know inside out to be really American, and then we can bring our Islam into play. Otherwise, we're just operating on a very superficial level in our own little bubble. And the next what's it called, false flag operation, all this talk about marriage, etc., that's going to be extremely minor. We're going to be in the sights as a minority to go after, as a scapegoat.
No, I agree with you wholeheartedly. Yes, always.
As an advertiser, inshallah, one of the programs my manager wants to have is in this message to also become familiar, culturally and contextually about our society and understanding the laws of the land. That's part of our education because that's important for our context and religious understanding the place that we live in, the history, etc. So inshallah, there are programs that will do that, that will tie us back to that, understanding our American roots and tradition.
No, it's important. I realize that, even as someone born and bred in this country, other than the U.S. Constitution test I took in 10th grade, I don't know enough about I don't know enough about the laws that I live under. And I think that we have so many Muslim lawyers in our community, it makes no sense at all that we haven't had some basic just symposia around, look, give us a crash course on just our rights and just how we should engage American law. So these are things that we should perhaps raise to our masajid board, to our imams, etc. I think that's a very strong point that you make. I saw it not only as just a part of power literacy, but also cultural literacy. I mean, just knowing, I mean, it's very, don't get me wrong, you don't have to submit to anyone's culture. Not necessary. But you should know and be familiar with the cultures of peoples that live around you. You should at least know. If someone says, I don't know, Babe Ruth, who's that? It's Frank Sinatra, who's that? James Brown, who's Muhammad Ali, who's that? So there should be some cultural, fluidity, familiarity. Yes?
So I was thinking about this question, and I want to see what you think about it. The hadith about if any of us see a munkar, change it with your hand. If you can't change it with your hand, change it with your tongue. If you can't change it with your tongue, hate it in your heart. So like what we're saying in kind of our context here, if we can change the tax, as in what our taxes actually go to, which, we can do it either if we get into politics or whatnot, or change it with our tongues. Or at worst case, all of us, at least at the minimum that we should be doing is, we shouldn't be making dua like, Ya Allah, don't hold us accountable for,
لا تؤاخذنا.
with our relatives. So I don't know if that hadith gives us kind of a basis on the degree of distance that we have from an action like munkar. If we can't do it with our hands, if we can't do it with our tongues, which I think we can do it with the tongue, at worst case, at least we have a sense of hatred or, a sense of pain from the actions that are being done with that.
I think what you're saying is coming at it from a certain angle, and what she's saying is coming at it from kind of a different angle. Because I think what I understood from the question was, okay, I'm not the one pushing the button, but I do clean the office of the one who pushes the button. To what extent am I involved? Or I'm not the one who pushes the button, but I do provide the money through my taxes for the salary of the one who pushes the button. At what point am I involved, and at what point am I kind of absolved of responsibility because, I'm just the guy who, I don't know, I clean the parking lot of the place where the guy who pushes the button works. I think what she's asking is, how many steps down it's like, well, I'm not even a part of it. And at what point am I kind of a part of it? Right. She's saying like, what's the cutoff to where it's like, my tax dollars pay his salary? At what point am I enabling, and at what point am I removed?
Like Yusuf alayhi salam was the minister of agriculture. He was part of the Pharaoh's,
there's some difference of opinion about that. He was an Aziz. He wasn't a Pharaoh, and many people say he was a Muwahid.
No, the guy
he wasn't working for that.
The king.
The Aziz. Some people say the Aziz at that time was a Muwahid. He was a monotheist. He believed in Allah. But that's neither here nor there. So that's the first major issue about working. I just think we should approach. Yes. I don't know that there is any place. Because America's doing more. Well, I mean,
there's corrupt police forces, there's corrupt governments all over the world that we're paying into as just citizens of any nation in the world. Which were massive at this point.
I think, yeah, any place that, and by the way, let's distinguish, let's differentiate among, I'm a citizen of Djibouti. Whether it's sales tax or whatever, I don't really know anything about how people live in Djibouti, but if they have some kind of dara'ib, they have some kind of taxes, and that military force, unlawfully kills someone or unlawfully kills or dispossesses someone of their property or something like that, that's kind of not what I'm referring to. I'm referring to an entity that is engaged in the systematic abuse of people's human rights and the systematic, just systematic oppression. Yeah, I think it's certainly valid. No, I understand what it's certainly valid, but I think we have to also just be cognizant of the fact that this is the big leagues. You know, this is in the U.S. This is the big leagues. This is the big leagues. But yes, I think it's kind of like, I guess you could just generalize the principle and say the prevalence of evil. Where can you go? That's what you're saying. Where can you go? So I can see that. You want to say something?
It falls on the same principle.
Yeah, any country. That's what I'm saying. It's the same. It's still just like it's an evil that can't be avoided. So, you know, yes.
If I can be chauvinistic, we're Americans. We're supposed to be better. We're supposed to have a rule of law. We're supposed to have a bill of rights. We're supposed to have citizen accountability.
Yeah, if I can be somewhat cynical, we've never been better. It's sometimes, I remember. I mean, I might change the topic of the discussion if I start talking about politics, and then no one will like me afterward or something like that. But so that's the first major workplace issue. Is it okay to even work for government agencies and things like that? The second workplace issue, in which I think the qawa'id and the maqasid become relevant, is how one engages while at work. Now, a lot of Muslims come to me and they want to know all the time two issues. One, shaking hands. You know, it's just a general expectation that when we close the deal, you go up, and it makes no difference if the one across from the person across the table is male or female. We give a handshake. It's very nice doing business with you. And if he's a born actor, man, he should have been at the Golden Globes. It's a pleasure. You know, he sounded like really stately. You know what I'm saying? But it's a general expectation, and if I don't do it, I'm going to seem weird. I'm going to seem out of place, and it could even result in my being terminated. Now, I want to say up front, I don't believe that is true. I don't believe that you're going to be terminated. I don't believe that you're going to be even ostracized. I think the workplace culture in America especially is built to accept and accommodate things like that. You just have to have the confidence, if it's a position that you take, to say, I don't do that. And yes, you will be looked at differently. People will say, wow, that's strange. But I don't think you're going to be fired. I think a lot of that fear is just unwarranted. I don't think anybody's going to fire you or... Now, that said, I am not 100% sure that shaking hands is fi'lun mu'aqab alayh. It's something that you're punished, that you're going to hell for. I'm not, it's strange to me. Now, the dominant position, and certainly the precedent of the Prophet ﷺ, he never touched any woman, and if you're a woman, just think about it, any member of the opposite gender that he did not have a relationship with. He never did that. That is the prophetic standard. That is the prophetic precedent. However, people talk about, and this is an argument, because when people talk about this issue of shaking hands, they always bring the hadith, and it's in the Sahih, that you would rather have a khanjar, you would rather have a spike driven through your head than to touch a woman, because he was speaking to men, that is not your mahram, a woman that you're not related to, not your wife, or that you're not related to. And what I find interesting about this is that no one makes the argument that in this case, touching is actually a kinaya for intercourse. Because in the case of wudu, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about wudu in the Quran. And He says what? إِذَا لَامَسْتُمُ النِّسَاءَ. If you have touched a woman. This is min nawaqid al-wudu. It's something that breaks your wudu. If you have touched. And the word that is used in the hadith is lamastum. If you've touched. Now, you have three opinions about this. One is the Shafi'i opinion, which literal touching. And that's why if you're Shafi'i, you go to the grocery store, that's tough, man. You know, you're at the grocery store, you get your change, you know, she's like,
doing the highs everywhere.
You're dancing in there. Don't touch me, don't touch me. Because they say, even if it's inadvertent, breaks the wudu. But the cool thing is that couples that, follow the Shafi'i madhab, they can play the wudu game. He doesn't have wudu, but she does. Look, keep playing with me, I'll do it. I'll send you right back in the bathroom. Don't test me. Go ahead back in there. That's what you get for playing with me. Don't play with me, I'll do it. Right? And it's a cute little thing. But that's one position, is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, La nastum, and this is to be understood literally. And Imam al-Shafi'i was a master of the Arabic language. In fact, even though people came with the hadith that the Prophet ﷺ was praying with Aisha and kissed her and continued praying, or that he moved her legs out of the way and continued praying, Shafi'i said, I speak Arabic. I know what this means. That's it. I know what this means. Touch means touch. Then you have the Hanafi opinion that touching is just a kinaya. In Arabic we use kinaya. And this is, I think, a beautiful quality of the Arab. The kinaya is meaning, rather than say something in a mubashir or explicit way, you say it in a roundabout way. And we do it in English too. In English, I'll give you an English kinaya. So-and-so slept together. Now, when you say that, do you mean they went in the bed and just said, you ready to go to sleep? I'm ready to go to sleep. Let's go to sleep. No. We say slept together, but it's a reference to Congress. Yani. But we say slept together. So the Hanafi opinion is that when Allah says touch, it's a metonym, or it's a kinaya that really refers to intercourse. But he's saying touch. So in the Hanafi school, a husband and a wife, they can kiss, hug, be close to each other, and none of that breaks the wudu. None of that breaks the wudu. The only thing that breaks the wudu is actual intercourse. That is what Allah means in the verse. You have some contemporary scholars that say that is the same thing that the Messenger of Allah means in the hadith. They say it's the same, because the same word is used in the hadith. You'd rather have a spike driven through your head than to touch? They say because this is the only thing that makes the hadith sensible. That yes, you would rather have a spike driven through your head than to commit zina. And that's why they say there's no solid evidence about handshaking. And then just to go back to the wudu example, the Maliki position is that if it's a touch, and this is like in between the two, that's accompanied with desire. So it's not the inadvertent touch, it's not the handshake, it's not the consoling, the grab of consolation. If it's a touch, there's some shahwa. There's some shahwa in it. Either that shahwa is intended or experienced, then it does break the wudu. So the wudu game among a Maliki couple is different. It's like, I'll break your wudu, I can touch you amorously to break the wudu. I'll break your wudu, don't play with me. I'll break your wudu, don't test me. Right? So even on the issue of handshaking, you have some difference of opinion, but I think if it's something that Muslims want to take a stand on, people will respect you if you take that stand. People are not going to say, look, I have a friend, I'll give you, and you have to be creative. I have a friend, his name is Musa McGuire, and he's an academic, he's a PhD. Right now he works at the University of Chicago, but he doesn't have a faculty position. and he's looking for a faculty position elsewhere. And he said that when he would go into interviews, he's an academician, and he refused to shake hands, he knew his application was just being torn up right there. Like, you know, nice to meet you, Mr. McGuire. You know, I'm sorry I don't shake hands. And he said for them, it just brings to surface all of the negative stereotypes about Muslims. He said then he started trying to explain, look, it's not because I think you're dirty, unclean. It's just, for me, it's just a part of being mannerable. It still wasn't working. He said what he started doing was he would send, in advance of his going for the interview, look, I don't shake hands, but here are the names, numbers, and personal testimonies of former female colleagues, former, you know, colleagues that were women that can attest to the fact that I work well as a team, I'm a good colleague, they never felt uncomfortable around me. He would send that almost as like, look, and it would be like a sheet of references. Look, it's not what you think, man. I'm not, you know, I work well with women. It's not what you think. Here, take this. And then he said he found that it was much easier, because a lot of the time they're thinking, okay, if you don't shake hands, you know, he said during an interview, and this blew his mind, he didn't shake hands, and the interviewer asked him about female circumcision. He said, you don't shake hands, what do you think about female circumcision? He's like, يعني عدم مصافحة ولا female circumcision. You know, I just don't see that. I don't understand the connection. But this is the kind of Islamophobia that's out there. I don't understand the connection. So a lot of it is being creative, thinking of ways to do that. But if you can't, know that I am not completely convinced, and I'm not just saying me, there are some that it's a fi'lun mu'aqab alayh. It's something that I think just from adab we should try to avoid. But it's not like if a person's like, hey, how are you? It's like, oh my God, it's over. My deen is nothing. I don't think it's that. I don't think it's that extreme. You have something?
I was going to ask you can give the other two opinions.
About what?
This.
Handshaking.
No,
The Maliki opinion is that it's a touch that's accompanied with desire. That's under wudu. Yeah, intended or experienced. Which gets tricky, because you can have intended here, experienced. It's tricky. So just...
Hanbali is same as...
Shafi. No, Hanbali is the same as Malikis. Yes. Azhar fiqh al-muqarin, man. I'm ready. Yeah, catch me off guard. Same as man. So my point is, handshaking, there's a range of opinion. If you can avoid it, I don't think it's something you're going to lose your job over. And sometimes you'll find that people find it interesting. I remember a friend of mine on the campus of the University of Chicago. That's where I hang out. My friend, University of Chicago has a great Islamic library. My friends just sneak me in. I spend all day just going over the stacks, right? Great Arabic library, probably second to only Princeton. Princeton might be the only school that has a better Islamic library than the University of Chicago. So one of my friends on the University of Chicago, a woman attempted to shake his hand, and he said, I'm sorry, I don't shake hands. And she said, why not? He said, well, my body and my hand are only for my wife. She started crying. And he was like, oh, whoa, I didn't mean that. And she said, no, that's the most beautiful thing I've ever heard. She said, to think about a relationship that exists between people that they don't even touch other people, that even the touch among them is sacred, it's special. She thought that was very special. And this is a true story. It says that she thought that was very special. I remember, a man attempted to shake my wife's hand. I said, look, man, I paid a lot of money to do that. I can't let you do that, kid. I had to pay a lot of bread to do that, dude. I can't let you do that, man. And he just thought that was hilarious. So sometimes it's just having some social grace. That's a true story. So he said, how are you? I'm pleased to meet you, Chet. I said, Chet, I had to pay a lot of money to do that. I'm sorry, I can't let you do that, but I give it to you, And he just thought that was hilarious, So with that, I don't know. Someone had a question? Yes.
So now, first of all, the shaking hand is not just in the workforce, right? Because when you come from Islamic culture, a lot of our cultures, it's actually offensive to them when you don't shake their hands. You know? Just from personal experience, you know, Muslim culture,
Egyptian especially.
Sudani culture, all of our cultures are very, you know, this is a sign of kind of building trust, right? So we reject it. So that is besides the point. Now, what I've experienced in the workforce is it's not just a matter of the handshake, especially when you're younger and you got your older management. It's like, you know, they treat you like they're kids, you know, and they like, you know, they put their hands on you and they, you know, like, just like.
Yeah, I mean, you know, Americans are very touchy. You know, Americans are very touchy, and the Americans are very, very touchy. And I remember, I remember going to the store once. I went to a clothing store. There was an old gentleman that was standing with my wife, and he was, "What brings your kids in?" He put his hand around, he put his arm around my wife, and you know, and I was just sitting there like. Looking for a sport jacket, you know what I'm saying? And you know, look, I'm dark skinned and I was turning red. You know what I mean? I was sitting there, I'm like, he's just like, oh man, I tell you, this is one of the things I really love about this job. You know, different people come in, and I was just like,
4, 3.
you know. So then, and so she kind of like, you know, backed away, and I just went back and I said, you know, I know you didn't mean anything by that. But to Muslims, invading the personal space in that way could be seen as a little offensive. This was in Denver, Colorado. Could be seen as a little offensive. And he was like, I didn't know. I'm sorry, I didn't know, you know. But if I had like removed his hand, man, what are you doing, man? It could have just, but I could see he was just like, man, I'm glad you told me that. I did not know. I said, that could be. And, you know, in terms, too, man, of not, even among Muslim cultures, it's an issue. I had a friend, we were living in Cairo. And when you're a student, any job is a great job. But we had a job opportunity to teach English for the University of Michigan. They were paying $35 an hour in Cairo. And then for your prep time, $20 an hour. So you can write every night. Ooh, I worked hard on this lesson. I spent like 4 hours prepping. You know what I mean? This is a great job. But I was working as a translator. I was translating the tafsir of Sheikh al-Sha'rawi. I was working as a translator, and my friend got me that job. Then he lost the job as a translator. So when the job came up, I'm like, look, Hamza, you take the job. You know, look, the job teaching English, you got me my job as a translator. Even though I want to do that in addition to teaching, you take the job. So he's like, okay, I'll take the job. So the woman that was running the program was a lawyer from DC. Her name was Margaret, I forget her name, but her name was Margaret something. Margaret, very energetic, you know, and she was the one who actually went to the Emirates, requested money for this program to take Azharis from Azhar and to the University of Michigan. That was the, you know, like for a summer program, but they had to do an English intensive first. And the Emiratis, they're very generous. Jawad al-Kef, they gave her like a lot of money to do this program. That's how she was able to pay us so well, right? They gave the money to the University of Michigan. They didn't give it to her. They gave it to the University of Michigan, and she was kind of the manager of the program. So, and that's how the University of Michigan was able to pay us so well. So my friend Hamza meets Margaret, and he tells her, look, I'm sorry, I don't shake hands. And Margaret's like a hard-charging attorney, very imperious kind of personality. She's like, why not? And he's like, well, you know, it's just, you know, Muslims don't. She's like, okay, that's cool, that's cool. Well, look, and just got down to business, and they were having a great conversation. So then they go to meet the students at Azhar. And the woman who was kind of like the Azhari liaison for the program, she comes up to Hamza and attempts to shake his hand. Older woman, I'm not going to say her name, she's kind of well known in Egypt, very sweet lady. She comes up to shake his hand. She's old too. She's like in her 60s, I'm sure. She comes up to shake his hand, and Hamza says, no, I'm sorry, I don't shake hands. She tells Margaret, no, Irhabi. He's a terrorist, get him out of here. Margaret's like, what? get him out of here. And she fired him right there. Like, I'm sorry, Hamza, she doesn't want you here. This isn't going to work out. And Hamza's like, what happened? What did I do? Like, she just said that I didn't want your kind of Muslim around for the program. And he's like, wow, this is where we've come to as a Muslim community? Let him go. He calls me and says, Ubayd, they let me go, and he tells me the story. Margaret calls me, because, you know, I also was going to Ubayd, do you want to come down? The position is now open. I said, yeah, I'll come down. She attempted to shake my hand. I said, no, I don't shake. She said, oh, that might be a problem. I said, oh, don't worry about it. It'll be okay. Then the same Azhari Sheikha, the doctora, she comes in. She attempted to shake my hand. I almost shook her arm off. Yeah. How you doing? How you doing? How you doing? How's it going? How's it going? You know, she was like, whoa, okay, yabni, khalas, yabni. Yeah, she was like, yeah, how's it going? And because to me, she was so old. She was old enough to be my grandmother. She was old. When I say old, she was old. She was old, and I knew that this is just a litmus test. Do you know, after that, she would see me every day while I was teaching. She never attempted to shake my hand again. She never came to me and said, Assalamu alaikum, or she just wanted to see, what kind of Muslim are you? Are you going to shake my hand or not? Yes.
Very extreme, because I'm a child care provider, and I deal with both the parents, male and female. I mean, I have to look at the brothers in their eyes sometimes when they're handling the baby. But you know, what's a big to me, that's not a big deal, because there is no feelings or anything. This is my job, this is what I do, and I do the best, and that's the first impression is the most important impression. So it's all about this intention, it's this heart.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And so with that, you know, it was just about, even if we look at the hurma or impermissibility of handshaking, if one holds that position, it's about, you know, pheromones and connection, and I'm like, this is a woman old enough to be my grandmother. None of that is there. So I made the decision to just, Assalamu alaikum ustaza, khalas, yani فرصة سعيدة كذا كذا, and she never tried to shake my hand after that.
Margaret had an issue with that, because sometimes I feel like I'm being hypocritical, because with my Muslim relatives, I was like, look, because you should know better, you know, like, I'm like, I don't want to shake your hand, whatever, all that.
But with non-Muslims,
sometimes we were confronted in the workplace where our colleagues don't know better. You don't want to offend them as well. You don't want to turn them off. And so you shake their hand, and you always, you know, sometimes I fall into that aspect of regret. And, you know, these people are here. So if Margaret was standing there and she saw you shake her hand,
like, but she didn't shake my hand, and, you know, I would probably just explain to her the fiqh around being a poor student needing more money, you know. Otherwise, say, look, Margaret, I'm a student, I'm poor, I need more money, you know. What's the maqsad? Hifdh al-mal, you know. But my point is, something like that, it's an iffy kind of thing. But if you take your stance, and I don't think people will blame you for it. Now, what I try to do just as a strategy, if I'm out and someone attempts to shake my hand and I don't shake hands, I usually try my best to be overly, not to the point of being irritating, but cordial, to show interest in them. No, I'm sorry, I don't shake hands, but I'm very pleased to meet you. Oh, so what is it exactly that you do here? That is interesting. Okay, and just try to, because I want to show that, I want to clear the air. I don't want you to think like, I don't want to shake hands with you, and also I don't want nothing to do with you. This is just, for me, a part of my manners. And you know, one of my friends, every time we're out and someone, you know, a woman attempts to shake his hand, he always says, I would shake your hand, but if I shake your hand, I'll have to marry you. And I don't know how my wife or your boyfriend would feel about that. You know what I'm saying? And they're always just like, that probably is not the right approach. They're probably like, ooh, I like you, probably kind of slick, you know. But yeah, it's probably not the right approach. You know what I'm saying? But my point is, issues like that, there's room there. There's room there. And if you do have, if you have to shake the hand, there's room there. The second issue that comes up often is this issue of sitting at a table that alcohol is sitting upon, or sitting in a gathering in which alcohol is being consumed. This is something that causes, I know people that say, when we close, I put the champagne in my mouth, wait until everybody isn't looking, go to the bathroom and spit it out. I know people that say, this is what I do. When we close, I take the champagne, put it in my mouth, wait, and then spit. And I'm just like, why don't you tell them that you don't drink? He's like, man, I don't know, it might just throw off the camaraderie that exists between me and my colleagues. And because, you know, alcohol, it's something about alcohol. And I know, not because I ever consumed alcohol, but many people in my family were heavy, heavy drinkers. People that consume alcohol, they like to know that everyone around them is also consuming alcohol. You know, so one of my friends said he would just fill his glass so that, you know, no one would come up and fill, but he just wouldn't drink, he'd just hold it. He'd just walk around with his glass. And I'm thinking, I don't think any of that is necessary. I don't think any of that is necessary. And I'm telling you this, full disclosure, my father is a recovering alcoholic. He said serious bouts with drug addiction and alcoholism, and my grandfather died, right? What do you call it? Of the liver cirrhosis from drinking. Alcoholism runs in my family. And my father, when he's doing better, in terms of his recovery, he'll tell anybody, I don't want to be around alcohol. Because for him, even being near alcohol could lead to him just going off the deep end. And he's not even saying that for faith, just, it's not good for me. He'll tell anybody, look, nah. You know, and my father, he loves to dance. He goes out, he dances a lot, he loves to dance. You say, wait, are they serving alcohol there? Can't go. Can't go. My father isn't Muslim. I want to think, my father isn't Muslim, you know, but can't go. So a lot of it is just having confidence in the fact that you're not the only person that doesn't. There's all kinds of people that don't drink alcohol, recovering alcoholics, vegans, you know, there's all kinds of people who don't drink alcohol. And sometimes it's just like, have a little confidence and just say that you don't. If, on the other hand, it's a situation that you don't feel that you can, avoid it. Don't put it in your mouth. Don't do that. That was the most extreme example I have ever heard. Someone actually taking the alcohol and just, and I've never, that is extreme. But if you are forced, and this is based on one's personal assessment, to sit at a table, with colleagues and alcohol is being served, I would say again, this is just umum al-balwa. This is just something that it's so pervasive. So if it's like an important meeting, like every staff member has to be there, and it's a luncheon, and you know people will be drinking wine, and to miss it would mean perhaps sacrificing your job. There's just no way around that. But one of your responsibilities should be looking for a job that you can provide for your family at equal or at least a similar standard that won't place you in such compromised positions. See, sometimes we take these positions and we just, boom, that's it. But it's like, look, there's a wide world out there. There may be something better in terms of more suitable, you're earning more money, you like what you do more, and they might respect the fact that you don't, like to go to bars, to socialize, etc. But all of our contemporary scholars are in agreement, don't quit your job for something like that. Don't quit your job. But it is your responsibility to start looking for something that's a better fit for you. If you're in a position where it's like, we only socialize after hours at bars. And there are some law firms, friends of mine are like, dude, we're up late working on a case. It's like tradition, somebody has to go grab the beer. And probably because my last name was Muhammad, they always choose me. Hey, Muhammad, go grab the beer. I mean, if you're in a position like that, and that's just tough. You know, or even like taking a client to lunch, and the client is ordering wine, and you have to pay for it. Now, in that regard, they say there's a huge difference between the expense account of the company, if you're dining on the expense account of the company, and you're paying for his wine, and if you're taking him out. Now, if you're an entrepreneur, it's tough. It's tough. It's tough. It's really tough. Now, there I also go back to this principle of, it's just a pervasive evil that is unavoidable, but we should be trying to develop strategies, you know, that don't place us in such compromising positions. Yes. Yeah. If you know you're out, yes.
Excuse me, Black laws, but when does Umum al-Balwa not become what's the limit for Umum al-Balwa? Like what's, because I mean, I can, thinking devil's advocate, I can think of some ways where someone would say, oh well, this is okay because of
well, yeah, Umum al-Balwa is only for a situation that you're being compelled. See, Umum al-Balwa or pervasive evil is never voluntary. It's not like there's another way to do this, but I just want to do this way. Meaning like, look, now a lot of this can be avoided. If I'm the person that's taking my client out, I'll just take him to a place that doesn't serve alcohol. You see what I'm saying? If I'm taking my client to lunch, you know, if he says, where do you want to go to lunch? Oh, I'm thinking of one of those Zabiha halal places. I mean, what do you think about those? I hate those places. Well, me too. You know, let's go to, you know, but my point is, there's creative ways to avoid it. But if you're in a situation, Umum al-Balwa is like paying taxes. That's a perfect example of like, what can you do? What can you do? Car insurance.
Like, what I'm saying, I guess, what's the
limit?
The limit.
You know, and the limit, there is no set limit, but many people say if you are living in a place that makes it impossible for you to live as a Muslim with integrity, at some point hijrah becomes like, I can't live here. You know, and what the line is for that, we don't exactly know.
So say something where you're really stuck in a corner. You have no other option. Mm-hmm. That's
all. When you're stuck in a corner, I have no choice. So you know, it's kind of like car insurance, which is one of the examples I gave yesterday. A lot of people don't know, but insurance, in terms of classical Islamic law, we don't recognize the purchase of insurance as legitimate because there's gharar. There's something unspecified in it. You see, the Prophet ﷺ, in terms of buyu' or business, he legislated that the commodity being sold must be known. The price must be known. And the exchange has to be done ala taradin. Mutual, we're both pleased with this. If it isn't, the transaction, the safqa, is not valid. With insurance, we don't exactly know what either of us are getting. Meaning, you have people, accident-free driving record, 25, 30 years. Do you know how much money they've spent in insurance? Do you know how much money? And what did they get? Safety? You're getting, but I'm saying in terms of a tangible service or a good, what did you get?
Well, for one thing, it's the law, you have to do it.
Yeah, and that was my next point. But in terms of a tangible good or service, I really didn't get anything. I've paid my money every month. In Chicago, you can't find a comprehensive policy under $160. Every month for 30 years? Quick math, how much money is that? 160 times 12 times 30.
$57,000.
That's $57,600. And what did I get? For my $57,000, I've never been in an accident, anything. For my $57,600, what did I get? Safety? We would view that as being an illegitimate transaction, but it's unavoidable. It's the law. You have to do it. That's what Ubaydallah. It's unavoidable. It's the law. You have to do it. I make the same argument about health insurance. You may never get sick, but you have to do it. You have to do it. Healthcare costs are just exorbitant. If you don't, you have to do it.
Then, some companies that offer life insurance, you can opt out of it, but they'll tell you, but if you opt out, we're gonna have there's like a penalty fee or something like that. Opt out of it. Then that would be okay, fine. If there's a penalty to do it, would it be, oh no, I have to get it?
You know, I'm still life insurance. I'm still contemplating, because you know that you are going to die.
No.
You just don't know how and under what circumstances, but you know that you are going to die. With life insurance, it's just I'm still thinking it over. I'm still thinking it over. I'm reading about it. I'm talking to people I respect about it. But you know, it is certain that you are going to die. It isn't certain that you're going to get in an auto accident. You don't know. You give your money for car insurance, you may never get into a car accident. Inshallah. Inshallah. But you might. There's the gharar. There's the, gharar. But with death, you know that you're going to die. You just don't, you just don't know how and under what circumstances and when. So man, I can't believe I have like 6 or 7 other contemporary issues that they gave me, but we have to wrap up at 4:45. So, we're almost out of time. I guess, subhanAllah, Inshallah. Well, the ones that I was prepared to address today, let's see what we have here. So I had the workplace, gender issues. They gave me financial issues, also issues related to burial, janaiz, things like that in this culture. We had, well, I guess we kind of did. We had, I had business, gender. I pretty much got to everything. I pretty much got to everything. But just before I open the floor and just let people just kind of comment, the point was hopefully just to open a window about the flexibility, the merin of the Sharia. Sometimes, it hurts students when I studied Sharia, I was blown away at this interpretive tradition that was so rich. Like there was so, and alhamdulillah, I think I was exposed to good teachers. That there was, it took so much into account in terms of human possibility. What if it's like this? What if it's like this? But then I noticed that there was a certain disconnect in the way that Sharia was invoked publicly. It was always invoked in very cold, rigid, inflexible ways. So what I endeavored, I don't know how good a job I did, what I endeavored to do here was just to empower people by showing, look, the Sharia is something that possesses a lot of flexibility and does not unfairly pit us against, our attempt to lead fulfilling, meaningful, empowered lives in this country. That's all I was trying to do. Is just kind of give you a glimpse and hopefully some tools to empower what for us is just a sensibility. Like, look, Islam is not about ruining anybody's life. So I open the floor for questions, inshallah. We're wrapping up soon. And I want to just commend the people that stayed all the way from like 10 to like 5 talking about Sharia. I know a lot of like Sharia scholars that couldn't do that, man. After a while, they're like, look, talk about tafsir or talk about ruhaniyat, talk about spirituality. Sharia is dry. Sharia, by its nature, is dry. It's dry. Law is dry. You talk to any student in law school, they'll tell you law is dry. So the fact that you stayed engaged and,
It's like a dry meat. I mean, it's dry on the surface, but once it's kind of get down, it's juicy.
It gets a little juicier. Yes.
I think one of them is you have a great sense of humor.
Alhamdulillah.
Really make it interesting.
Alhamdulillah. 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 Min Allah. No.
See, talking about this whole thing as well. For example, I work in somewhat as technically would be the music industry. So our 401k plan, the money that they use, they tell us what companies are getting invested. One of the major people that they invest the money in is Budweiser.
Ooh.
And other things. I mean, I opted out once. I had that option of opting out to not get in it, and I haven't. But there's other people that I work with. One of them being Muslim. He said, "Well, I don't really have any other option." And I tried to ask him if I can probably go through another 401k plan outside, and they said, "Unfortunately, this is the option. This is the plan you have. You can take it, or you can leave it." So then it's like, now I got to go do my own.
I need to think more deeply about that. His question was about, if you have a 401k and one of the companies that your earnings is invested in is like Budweiser or a casino or Playboy, or how does one deal with that? Of course, if you can opt out, always opt out if you can opt out. If you can't opt out, that does leave a person in a circumstance.
Are there other options?
Yeah, I did. But sometimes there's you can't. That doesn't mean you have to get a 401k. You're not given the choice to opt out. You have to. So then it's like, all right, do I work and then what do I do with that money when I'm able to take it out?
No, but I'm saying, are there other, I work for IBM, that was the same thing. You go and look at the top 10 people in the holding, the actual mutual fund. Financial services are all over the place. So what I did, I just invested the majority of my money in IBM, in my company, which I know they do pretty good things. And then real estate, because real estate I don't think you can go wrong with purchasing land. So there are other options. It's not a matter of maybe opting out. Maybe it's just you just put all of your funding in one thing to save your money.
But sometimes, this is a general, I guess, this is a general situation in most of the companies I work for as well, is you don't have no options. Even if you give it 10 mutual funds, there's definitely going to be 1 or 2 or 10 companies that deal in something that we don't.
I think one of the great misfortunes is that of our community is that we have such a rich community in terms of human resources, people that have all kinds of knowledge, people that have all kinds of experience, and people that the imams and the fuqaha, the ulama, sometimes, they feel compelled to speak on behalf of everybody about everything. It's like, you're like, wow, you're an Islamic scholar, an expert on fashion, an expert on finance, an expert on... There's a lot of things that I'm very comfortable saying, I don't know that much about that. The basic kind of, contours of a 401k, I understand. But in terms of, your ability to opt out, change portfolios, I'd have to look at it more closely before I felt comfortable saying anything about it. Because, generally, my approach is very cautious. If I don't know about something, even if someone calls me, they're like, Ubay, it's urgent. If I don't know what they're talking about, I'm like, dude, I don't know what you're talking about. Maybe you should call someone that has more knowledge about that. You know what I'm saying? Yes, you were going to say something always?
I was just saying, sometimes you don't even realize, though, even in those situations, that you might have the ability to actually find other ways of still taking advantage of that benefit, if you will, or having other options. Sometimes we just have to take initiative and act. Sometimes you're right, it might not be a choice. In other cases, you might realize, oh wow, I talked to my HR rep and they actually told me, well, yeah, we can do this, or we can make an exception for you. So you'd be surprised that people are very accommodating, generally speaking, where you might find a way around doing something like that. But again, it's based on the scenario as well.
Yeah, no, understood, understood. Any more questions, comments, concerns? Are we good?
So just your advice to us, we work full time, we have our own families, but we're also kind of on a path of trying to gain knowledge and gain knowledge. But do you have any suggestions on how we can go to more of the primary sources or more of the foundations behind maqasid al-sharia to understand qawaid al-fiqhiyya, qawaid al-shari'iyya? Do you have any sources for us that we can do maybe by ourselves to kind of attain that knowledge without, it would be great to go and study,
No, what I would say is, I mean, there's so much out there now, man, that you can read on maqasid. Muhammad Hashim Kamali's works are really good. Jasr Auda, his works are really good. I mean, the triple IIT stuff is really good about maqasid. I mean, there's another. I mean, if you can read Arabic, the works of Imam al-Shatibi, I mean, you read those, you're set. Why those haven't?
Accessible, I'm saying. Here, can we get access to them online, or do we have to?
I mean, any good bookstore should have many of those books. What's important to me here is that you create a dialogue with people that issue legal opinions and legal judgments. There should be, meaning not a disrespect, not a disdain, but a dialogue that, you feel empowered to say, Sheikh, this is, I know I'm no scholar, but this is, a consideration that I was thinking about. Would it be relevant here? See, when I come to my mashayikh and they tell me something that just doesn't seem to fit well with it, and it's just my sense that this doesn't really dovetail, this doesn't fit well inside of my reality, the way I ask is not to say, you ain't no sheikh, you don't know what you're talking about. What about the maqasid, man? Look, forget that, man. I'm out of here. No. Sheikh, I'm thinking about this maqsad of the sharia of hifd al-deen in relation to sisters having access to the masjid. Do you think it would be applicable here? That's and any person of knowledge will respect that. And hopefully they will either alter their position or tell you why it isn't applicable. Do you see what I'm saying? So what I'm hoping is that you use these to create a dialogue, a bi-directional conversation with people in authority and people in positions of religious leadership, and thereby feel some sense of ownership over, your religious life. You have to take your religious life back. So while it's already 4:45, I can't believe the time went like that. But it probably did for me because I was doing all the talking.
Yes. Well, the question that I was asking you before, would you answer that?
Please ask it.
So basically, if I want to do something, I have a good job, but I want to do something besides jobs. And for that I need financial
money.
So would that be okay to go to the conventional bank and get the loan, interest-bearing loan? Is it a valid need, or because it's not necessary for me? I would like to do something so that I can be benefited and I can help society. I would like to do something entrepreneurial.
Of course, I think you might be surprised as a Muslim entrepreneur. You have some really good financial services and lending institutions that do Islamically acceptable small business loans and all kinds of mudaraba, musharaka, that might be competitive. A lot of people tell me a lot of those Islamic lending services, conventional banks are just better, you get better rates. I don't know if that is true or not, but look at it this way. Even if you don't get as good a rate, by going with, an Islamic lending institution, you are also contributing to the development and the continuation and the improvement and the establishment of these kinds of institutions. And inshallah, Allah will bless you for that and also put barakah in the business for that. Meaning, I could have went with a conventional bank, got a better interest rate, for the loan, but I went with one of these Islamic institutions. We did musharaka, mudaraba. I paid a little more, but I have the peace of mind of knowing that my business is halal. And inshallah, Allah will bless you. In terms of it being a legitimate need, it doesn't sound like it is for you. It's not like it's life or death. I have to do this. It's something that you want to do to enhance your situation, and that's commendable. I would say seek out every halal means of doing so, and then if you can't do that, we'll talk to Adam. He'll dig the money out of his couch cushion, give it to you, and it'll be over. Inshallah. So I guess that does it. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Wal 'asr innal insana lafi khusr illa alladhina amanu wa 'amilus solihati wa tawasaw bil haqqi wa tawasaw bis sabr. Ameen ya rabbal alamin. Thank you. MashaAllah. Thank you.
Allahu Akbar.